Happy Saturday, everyone. All right. Well, my name's Eric Sprague. As they mentioned, I have an upcoming book. It'll be out in 2 weeks called The Road to Seven Figures. My business partner, Larry, who's probably running around the hall with the fedora on. Larry's my college roommate, and we've had a whole bunch of different service businesses, kept running up 7 figures, selling them and moving on to the next. Anybody know what percentage of businesses in America ever reach $1 million a year in revenue or more? It's 5%, right? So as you drive down the highway and you see 100 businesses, 5 of them have reached $1 million a year in revenue, right? And the problem is a lot of us entrepreneurs, I mean, look, I've had a couple failed businesses, right? We don't know what we don't know. We don't have a roadmap to get there, right? And through pain, suffering, getting coaching, Larry and I started figuring that out. A little bit about me. Started in home services at age 15. I've basically been doing it ever since. I love home services. I've had a bunch of different professions within home services. I was not a good student in high school. I was like straight C's. I wanted to stay eligible for sports. I used to call it 2-0 and go. I just got to get a C and they let me play, right? But every summer I'd look forward to it because I had a home service business of some sort and I loved going house to house serving other people, right? So I'm a home service technician at heart. Worked up into a company, became VP of operations of a global service company, running technicians all over the world. Had an entrepreneurial seizure, started my first business with Larry, and that was a roller coaster ride, as probably all of you guys have felt at some point. We had a cleaning and restoration business that we built up to several $1 million and sold 5 years ago and started SuperTech University. Since then, business coach to small businesses. We have a video education program for home service technicians, CSRs, and service managers called SuperTech U, which we'll talk about a little bit later. And Larry and I have a podcast called the Blue Collar Nation Podcast. So that's a little bit about us. Larry's in the back. Larry, say hi to everybody. There we go. I'm going to ditch this jacket in about 30 seconds. I'm just warning everybody. It's hot. All right. Have the upcoming book, Katie Harris. For some of you might know Katie. Katie has a multi-million-dollar digital marketing company. She and I have been friends forever. They used to do our digital marketing. She helped write the book with me because I don't know that much about digital marketing, so I needed somebody to help. But I want to talk, I can't do everything in the book today, right? We'd be here all day. It'd be an 8-hour show. I want to do something that you guys can take home today and change your business and change your life, I hope. And that is adding to your average ticket, right? We need more money from every single job that we go to, right? We spend all this money to get the phone to ring. We get our CSR to book that call. Now we've got a technician or ourselves on the job. It doesn't matter if you're an owner or operator and it's you selling or one of your people. We need to maximize that ticket in an honest and ethical way, right? I'm not saying bait and switch, scuzzy. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about finding a way to raise your average ticket by putting on a show for them, by making sure that they believe that you're worth the money, because you are worth the money a lot of times, but you're not capitalizing on that service call, right? And let's get real. Like Larry and I lived through the Great Recession of 2008, right? When we used to literally like, hey, call the office and see if the phones must be broken, right? Oh crap, phone works. Nobody wants us, right? Nobody's doing any work. So what happens? And look, I'm not saying we're in 2008, but you guys all feel the pinch, right? Gas prices are high, food prices are high, people are a little iffy on everything, right? Every single call that you guys get matters. Every single call that you get to that front door, you gotta max that call out to make sure that you're healthy, that you're surviving, and you're doing well, right? So that's what I wanna be talking about today. How do we make every single call count? But let's step back 42 years first. Kind of aging myself here, right? 15 plus 42 equals 57, right? I've been around for a while. This was my introduction to home services, Crispin Pool Service. Crispin Pool, how many guys see pool service companies with 55 trucks? Not many though, right? 55 trucks, that's a lot, right? I work for Dick Crispin. We're the largest pool service company in New England, coast of Maine. Dick got this business because he was an accountant and the guy couldn't pay the bill. Dick took the business in trade for the bill. And it was the greatest job I've ever had when I was 15 because he thought differently than the average contractor. He thought like an accountant. He thought like a businessman, not a tradesperson, right? I'm getting exposed to this. And at Crispin Pool, we had the Crispin Pool Code of Conduct. Neat uniforms, clean trucks. We washed our vans every single day. He would never let us roll out with a dirty van. Not happening, right? We practiced client interaction. We'd have to stand in the office and he would role play with us about how to go ring Mr. and Mrs. Multimillionaire's door, right? Because he's got 15-year-old, 18-year-old kids representing him with clients in $10 million oceanfront homes. Stakes are high, and he understood that, right? So he's teaching us how to do what he would have done if he was ringing the door himself, right? He used to give us 2 Ziploc bags for every call. One, because he had a leave it better policy. We had to find a rock, a leaf, a pebble, a cigarette butt that had blown off the street on the lawn, and we had to leave their property better than we got there. And we used to have to pick that up and bring that Ziploc bag to him to prove that we did it. The other one was a lost and found bag. Anybody ever cleaned out a skimming bucket on a swimming pool, right? What's in there? Pen, quarter, penny, paper clip, right? But his whole thing was, we can make an awesome impression if we clean that stuff off, put it in a bag, go ring the doorbell and say, hey, I found this. We never take any of your property off the property. I know that you probably don't want this, but this is yours. And all of a sudden they're going, ooh, these guys are pretty good, right? He's putting on a show. What happens when you put on a show like that? Because we're doing training for this. That's the houses that we were cleaning. Anybody know who lived there? Yep. So their house was here. I used to watch President Bush hit golf balls at his neighbor across the bay while I was cleaning the swimming pool. Nicest man on earth, by the way. Yeah, I mean, if we're going to do President Bush's house and all of his neighbors and every other bazillionaire along the coast, we have to be better than everybody else. We can't be Chuck in a truck. We can't be just a regular pool service company. He was drilling that into us all the time, right? Anybody can clean a pool, but very few get to clean the pool of the president. Why us? Because Dick understood his clients. He understood what they valued and what they didn't value. And that was I made $3.65 an hour at this job, by the way. It was the greatest $3.65 an hour you could ever have because he gave me an education. He didn't know that. He was just wanting me to go do work and make him money, but I'm just soaking it in, right? But before we get to Dick and his mentality about clients, let's talk about all of you and me and Larry, right? Because it all starts with us. Why did we start a business? Why does everybody start a business? Because we, in our mind, think it's going to be like this. It's going to be all beaches and money and travel and no work. And then that happens, right? Where it's all pain and suffering and 10-hour days and 20-hour days and all that, and it becomes a nightmare. And that's certainly what happened to us, right? I had it all in mind, like, yeah, this will take me like a year. I'll build it up. I'll have a bunch of dudes, and I'm going to go fishing all day. And then they're going to go and make me money. And years later, I'm still on the truck, slaving away, going, why can't I get the prices I want, right? And I even had that training, and I still wasn't figuring it out. So lack of money in any business is an absolute nightmare because all of a sudden, I don't know if I'm going to be able to eat. I don't know if I'm going to be able to make payroll. I don't know if I'm going to be able to pay the credit card bill. I'm afraid I'm going to go bankrupt. And then you're waking up in the middle of the night going, am I going to be able to feed and shelter my children, right? We all have those fears as entrepreneurs. Every single one. I can't imagine anybody's just breezed through it and never felt that, right? So we have to address this first. Everything good resides on the other side of that, right? We got to get money coming into the business, right? But it starts with our own money mindset, right? We deserve to have money. If you're going to take this much risk and you're going to wake up at 2 o'clock in the morning wondering if you can feed your children, you deserve to make a lot of money, right? You're going to take that risk. You deserve the money. Too many people in our industries don't believe that yet, right? We deserve to have a comfortable retirement. We shouldn't have to work till the day that we die. We took the risk, right? We did the work. We deserve to have a nice vacation at a beautiful hotel like this if we want to, right? And we should be able to own a nice home. That's the goal. That's what we dreamed of, right? What happens, though, is you can't sell at high prices unless you believe that you deserve the money. I deal with people all the time. I had it with my own technicians. I'd be like, you're the greatest, Hudson, you're the greatest technician that's ever lived. Why haven't you made one upsell in a month? I don't know, I just don't know. I don't have a good relationship with money because Hudson didn't believe that he was worthy of asking the client for the money, right? That's the disconnect. That's where we start losing it, right? So it all starts with us and our team believing that we're valuable enough to get money from people like the Bushes, right? And there's an awful lot of guys out there that struggle their whole lives on the truck because they don't really believe that. And look, believing is a skill. You work on it, you build on it, you start figuring that out, right? I'll give you this. I have a small coaching client list. I have a guy who's a master electrician. He's one of the most skilled electricians I've ever met in my life. And he had worked for some big companies, went out on his own, and he's struggling. He's not making a lot of money. And he's grinding. He's working 7 days a week. And he's always nervous because he's like, can I pay my bills? Can I do whatever? I said, how much are you charging an hour? He said, $255 an hour, right? I'm like, okay, you're a master electrician, right? Yeah. All right. The big box guy down the road, how much are they charging an hour? $700 an hour. I'm like, do they send a master electrician to make $700 an hour? No, they send some kid that doesn't know anything. Okay, we got to work on this, right? Why was he charging $255? He didn't see his own value. It's just little old me. It's little old me on a truck. In 1 year of coaching him, I've slowly worked him up to $435 an hour. Okay, when he came to me, he was doing $500,000 with him and 2 helpers. That was $500. No more service calls. No extra marketing expense. Nothing. Going to $435 took him to $710 in a year, just because he kind of started raising his average ticket, because he started valuing himself more. The work didn't change. The van didn't change. His logo didn't change. This changed right here. That was it, right? So once we have us good and we believe that we deserve something, now we got to start thinking about them. We got to start thinking about that client. What do they value? What makes them want to pay us $435 an hour versus $255? Okay? Jim McDonough, what does our client not understand? They don't understand what you do. They don't know how to spray a house. They don't know how to clean a carpet. And then therefore they figure everybody's the same. Like if Scott's chucking a truck and he's 10 cents a square foot and you're Jim with your nice van and all that and you're 60 cents a square foot, they're like, isn't it the same? I don't know, right? It's not the same, right? Because we're not doing the same thing. I'm sorry, I put you on the spot. I shouldn't have. Never be a friend of a person who's up on the front of the room, right? Yeah, they don't understand what we do. They don't get it. Until we've proven them different, they view every HVAC contractor as all the same, right? Now our job is to stand out, to be better, right? But they understand how they feel about us. They might not understand how to spray a house or wash a window or clean a gutter, but they understand how they feel about when we roll up to the house, right? They're going to start judging us on common things, like how well did we communicate with them? That starts on the phone. That starts with our marketing message, right? Everything. That person, if you have somebody on the phone who answers that phone like they don't care or it's rude or they're uninterested, you've probably already lost that client, right? We got to work on that interaction. Did we look trustworthy when we were in nice uniform? Did we look good? Look, I know you guys look great, right? That's why you're charging more. Did we look them in the eye, right? At that interface, when we go ring the doorbell, is the most crucial point in almost every single service call, because that first impression is going to dictate everything else on that call, right? We need to make sure that we look good. And we'll talk about that a little bit more. Did we seem excited to serve them? Or are we like standing there like this, like just another service call, right? That's not going to get me 435 versus 255. I got to look like I'm pumped to be there, right? And did we smell good? Tommy Mello, who watched him, talked about yesterday. Don't smell like cologne or perfume, right? Not everybody likes that. We used to talk about that with our team all the time. Soap and water and deodorant, that's all we want, right? We just want to, I want to smell you not at all, right? And that includes cigarettes. Every single person in my company smoked. I don't care. If you want to smoke, that's your choice. I'm not the police. I just don't want you to smell like smoke in front of my client. Whatever you have to do to not smell like smoke, you better do it, because if I ever get a complaint that you smell like smoke, we're probably done, right? So did you smell good? Do we make them feel safe in our own home? In home services, most technicians are male, most clients at home are female. We want to make sure that we are managing that so that they feel very comfortable with us being there, because that's going to be one of the big determinants on whether they like us, refer us, give us a 5-star review on Google, all that other stuff, right? It's the theater of business. We'll talk about that soon. So here's the thing. Ed Marchicelli with a seal, he's got a booth here. Ed and I were at like 14,000 feet jeeping in Colorado, and he turns to me, he said, Eric, you know it's all about price until we make it not about price. And I'm like, yeah, okay, right? You know, like that's the perfect thing, right? It is all about price unless we're not making it about price. That's why I always say don't quote on the phone. Unless you're the lowest price provider in town, don't quote on the phone, because you're a commodity at that point. They have no reference point for you. I have never given a quote over the phone in my whole life. We would tell them to go somewhere else if they insisted on the phone. Our CSRs used to say, look, Scott, it's kind of like getting a haircut over the phone. It's just not going to work very well. Why don't we just have Larry come out? He's not going to pressure you. There's no obligation. Let us take a look at the house. What are we doing? Now we have a chance to go wow them and sell value. And that's how you go from 255 to 435 to 700. That's the goal, right? So we want to make it not about price. But the thing is that we don't have control over everything, right? We don't have control over the government, the president, the economy, how the drive was, what kind of mood they're in that day, what their financial situation is. We don't have control over any of that. And I'm a control freak, just ask Larry, right? I want to control what I can control. And I want to control these things. We used to have a program in our company called GUTS. We even had a GUTS facilitator, my most anally retentive technician who was all on board with us. He was in charge of this. He was the guy narking everybody out. Their grooming's not on point, their uniforms aren't good, their trucks aren't good, and the shop's a mess. He patrolled that, right? Why do I care about these 4 things? Because this is the thing that I can control. This is the thing that I can do to raise my tickets. First thing, grooming. It's crucial to get our grooming down. Look, these are the clients we want. We want that Mercedes-Benz client, right? Everybody, rich people are cheap and da-da. I've never found that. I found them to be the easiest clients ever, because the amount of disposable income that my job is so small to them compared to somebody else who maybe isn't making as much money. The stakes aren't as high. They're easy clients most of the time. Look, my hardest clients were always the ones that were maybe the cheapest, right? They're tougher. It's more important to them. But this person, these 2 people, they want you to be clean, you to be neat, your hands to look good, smelling neutral, no body odor, teeth brush, fresh breath. We always kept gum and mints in every van, right? I want those guys, especially if they smoke, chew gum for a few minutes, right? Neatly trimmed facial hair. We even had a thing in our bathroom. I'm not picking on you, brother. You're going to come back clean shaven next year. We had a thing that's like, you can have these facial hairs and you can't have these. Look, I've always had a beard or goatee or whatever. Just had to be neat and tidy, right? So we wanted to get the grooming down. Uniforms, invest, look good. Gorilla guys, love your uniforms, by the way. Looks awesome, right? Our thing was, that's Any Hour Plumbing. They're in Utah where I'm at. They have 1,400 employees. They're like a swarm of bees where I live. You see an any hour technician and van everywhere you go. They do plumbing, heating, and air, right? Every single person in their company looks like that. And they look like that all the time. When you show up at the gas station, when you're in the grocery store, when you're at McDonald's, their guys are tucked in, neat uniforms, and they have extra uniforms in the van, so if they get dirty, put a new one on, right? They understood to get to 1,400 employees and that big and dominate that Salt Lake City market, they need to look the part, right? So they invest in that all the time. I've been to their shop. Whoops, I messed that up. It's like, all right, who gets paid more? What if Chuck is a far better technician than Paul, technically? Does he still make more money? No, because he doesn't look like he's better. He might be the greatest tech in the whole world. Client doesn't care. He looks like crap, right? They're going to pay him what they think he's worth based on what is valuable to them, not us, right? So Paul, this dude might have been in the trades for 3 weeks. They're still going to pay him more, right? We have to invest in ourselves. We have to look the part if we want to pass that 7-figure mark into an 8-figure mark or whatever, because we're not going to get the ticket size required to get up into these larger numbers because we're going to look like this, and people don't pay for that. They just don't. This is not the clients we want, right? So we don't be chucking a truck. Trucks, Tommy Mello was talking yesterday. You can only see so many things from a truck. I see these trucks. I drove to Salt Lake the other day on a Friday, and I literally saw a zillion home service vans. Like everywhere I went, I just saw a home service van. And I would see one driving past me, and there would be like 40 things that they do in like 5-point font. I'm like, I don't know what that guy does. I saw one van. It was just white. I could tell it was a service van, and it had a Visa sticker on the back. I'm like, well, I don't know what he does, but he takes Visa. That's for sure, right? You know, so we have to have something that stands out. I'm not saying you have to go get the fanciest Dan Antonelli rebrand, and Dan's great, by the way. But the thing is that you need to look the part, and people need to be able to call you or email you or whatever easily, all right? So we have to have that. My wife's sending you home. You're never making it in the front door. You pull up in a van like that, the way our house is, the road and the driveway looks down, we look down at it, she sees trash dash, call the company, tell him not to come in. If he can't keep his van clean, he's not going to keep my house clean. You're out, right? I like KFC. I just don't like it on the dashboard. Yeah, and look, I'd be lying if I told you that I never showed up at my own company and didn't see this. Larry and I had to get to this point where we were figuring all this stuff out. Every mistake that we're talking about, we've done twice, maybe 5 times, right? I remember one day, Larry and I came in and every van looked like that. We're like, we have to change. This is killing us, right? So we can't have that. We have to have the vans look good. And in the shop, and I know what you're thinking, why does my shop have to look good? We go to their house, they don't come to mine. You know why? Because how we do one thing is how we do everything. And if the shop looks like shit, their job site's gonna look like shit, they're gonna look like shit. Guess what? That doesn't pay, right? So we have to have the shop look as good as all the other things that we want because we're showing them we care. We're showing them that it matters, right? So, and look, we used to have a messy shop. We had to fix that, right? And as soon as we fixed it, did everybody belly moan and groan? Yeah. And 3 weeks later, it was our standard, right? They get used to it. Whatever we tell them to do, they will do. It's the same for an owner-operator. Keep your stuff good, right? Keep it nice. Who gets to charge more, Walmart or Nordstrom? Every time. Why? They ask for it. They look like they deserve it. You know, you walk into Walmart and you need help. You're like walking around and you can't find anybody that work there, right? I want to buy my $12 golf shirt, which is actually pretty nice, by the way. And I can't find anybody to help me find my size. I walk into Nordstrom, whoop, they're right on me. What can we do? What can we do for you today? How can I help you? The shirt that's probably made in the same factory that I paid 12 at Walmart is 100 in Nordstrom, and I'll pay it because you gave me a show. You gave me what I wanted, and I felt taken care of, and I have the money to pay the 100 because it makes me feel good, right? Be Nordstrom. There's all these guys in your market fighting it out on a race to the bottom of pricing. And then there's like 3 guys at the top getting all the good customers. Be one of the 3. Don't be one of the 100. That's a harder row to hoe because there's always somebody who will work cheaper than you, right? And if you're on that race chasing that market down to the bottom, you won't survive, okay? And then the theater of business. This is the Dick Chrisman thing. Howard Partridge does this. Tommy Mello does this. All the good companies are doing this. They are putting a show on for that client because the show is what gets you bigger tickets. It's what makes the tickets better, right? Every job is a stage and every technician is an actor and an actress. We're putting on a show. We go ring a doorbell. That's a show, right? We better be up for it. We better be well practiced, right? Here's the pre-job choreography for Shamrock Cleaning and Restoration. We did this every time. We practice this all the time. Pre-job call. Hey Jim, it's Eric with Shamrock. I'm at the shop, I'm about to leave. My GPS says I'm about 25 minutes out. I'm gonna get a Starbucks on the way, what would you like, right? When Tommy said that yesterday, I cracked up because Larry and I put a Starbucks card in every van for years. I was like, I must not be so dumb after all if Tommy's doing it, you know? But yeah, we offer him something. In the afternoon, we used to have like a prepaid Visa card. Hey, I'm gonna go to 7-Eleven and grab myself a Gatorade because it's a hot day, can I bring you anything? Right, so they had 2 cards that were preloaded all the time. And we let our technicians have a coffee if the customer got one, right? It makes them feel happy, makes them feel taken care of, right? So we're gonna do a pre-job call every time. Practicing where to park. Dude, don't pull in their driveway on their $100,000 paver stones with your leaky van, right? They don't like that. Park on the street, ideally in line with the front door and the front window so they can look out and go, oh, Scott with Veterans is here, cool, right? Don't just pull in like you own the place. It's their house. You've never made a mortgage payment there, right? We have to remember that. It's not our job site, it's their home, right? We're gonna practice that front door interaction, looking them in the eye, having a nice smile, handing them a business card, right? We're making a good first impression. We only have like 30 seconds and they're gonna decide everything about us. So we better make that first 30 seconds good. Don't cut across the lawn. Walk down the driveway. Newspaper's there, pick it up. Amazon packages there, pick it up. Ring the doorbell. Be ready to serve right from the get-go. We used to lay out logoed mats, and then we'd have shoe covers in hand, and we'd be standing on the mat so our feet never even touch the ground when we put the shoe covers on, right? They notice these things. Mat doesn't cost much. Right? Shoe covers don't cost much, right? But it puts on that show so that I can add to that ticket, right? We're gonna teach our team about how to do an inspection, how to get that person to buy in. We're gonna pre-job education, right? If we tell them before, it's education. If we tell them after, it's an excuse. Lots of technicians don't like to tell people bad news up front, and then all of a sudden it's blowing up on me and I'm having to drive over there later, right? So we're telling the guys, hey, if there's bad news, you gotta tell them up front. They might not like it, but they'll appreciate it more than after when you have to get me involved, right? Then everybody's upset. And then I'm big on property protection. Butcher paper, ram board, corner guards, carpet runners, anything I can do to make it look like I'm taking great care of their property, and I can show that in a bid, and pull out my iPad and show them all the different pictures of jobs where we've taken great care of people's homes. Prices going up by the minute, right? Because I'm showing them in my sales presentation, these are all the things that I'm gonna do that my competition will not. I don't need to talk about my competition. I never mention them. I just show them what we do because they've already taken a couple bids. I'm gonna be double the price and they're still gonna buy because I've put on the choreography of this job in advance, right? And then, if every technician is an actor and actress on this work job stage, what do? We have to practice. I mean, if you go to a play on Broadway, it's not like they all just met each other 5 minutes ago and they went, let's do a play, right? What are they doing for weeks? They're practicing. And they practice a little bit every single day, right? Drip on them. Right? You guys do that every day, just a little bit at a time. Because people can't take it all in at once. It has to be a habit, it has to be a system, right? You have to systematize this. But we have to get every person who's entering past the threshold of that house to be able to do a really good job communicating with the client and putting on that show. They will tell all of their friends. They will give you 5-star reviews. They will tip your team, right? Our guys were making tips that were just crazy because they were doing all of this, right? And that makes them happy. And what happens when they're happy? They don't leave. They stay with you longer, right? I keep doing this. It's like a Zoom call with a blur. All right. Then you have to have a system to make more money, right? Do most technicians love sales? Yours might, but nobody else's do. Right? No, not really, right? A lot of them are kind of technical people, quiet, introverts, right? And we have to work a system for them so they feel comfortable selling. You know, guys would tell me, Eric, I'm not like you. I'm not a salesperson. Yeah, you are. Do you have a wife? Yeah. You're in sales. Right? Your parents did you ever ask your mom or dad for an ice cream cone? Yeah. They give it to you? Yeah. You're in sales, right? We're all in sales on some level, but for me, I realized that it made them uncomfortable. So I started creating systems so that they could sell that just is more like education, right? So we would have these sheets made up in carpet cleaning on our interior stuff where we'd say, you know, hey, it's been 2 years since you cleaned the sofa. It's been 3 years since you cleaned the tile. Would you like me to go ahead and do a demonstration to see what it could look like, right? So all of a sudden, we're just asking, hey, would you mind if I go and look at all the things that we've worked on in the house? And then I can give, no obligation, I can give you a summary of that. I'm gonna do an inspection, no charge. Well, what happens? Yeah, why don't you go, it's been 3 years since I cleaned my sofa. I thought I did that like 3 weeks ago. No, it's been 3 years. Yeah, go ahead and throw that on. Okay, great. Right, and all of a sudden, these technicians who don't like to sell have this sheet that's making them feel like, I can do this. I know how to do this, right? It takes away some of the fear. My goal with my techs is I want to take away sales resistance. I want to take away fear from them so they feel good about it, right? And we're talking about money. The taboo subject that nobody likes to talk about. What are we doing in morning meetings? We're talking about money and the value of it, right? Because I got to get them to buy in that they're valuable. They deserve it. We deserve it. We do more than everybody else. We deserve more money for that, right? Use a brag book. There's Larry and I was kind of clean cut and 30 pounds lighter. Larry had a full head of hair, right? But we made a brag book. There was our brag book. You could see those tabs. Every van had a brag book. It had every single thing that we did and all the pictures from jobs, right? And we would say, look, you kind of see how that, because you got to remember, this is like 15 years ago, right? You know, the quality of the photos, Mrs. Jones, they're not that awesome because these are jobs we really did. This isn't taken off iStock photo. This is us, right? And they're like, oh, okay. And then guess what else we did? We had them print all our Yelp reviews in every brag book, and we would leave that with them and say, why don't you go ahead and look through this while we go do the inspection? What's that do? It gets the client off my technician's back so they can actually think and gives them time. And then they're reading all of this and probably pulling out their phone to see if it's true. It was true, right? What happens by the time my guy comes back? They're ready to buy. They're ready to go, right? Let me ask you a question. Can that young man, or woman if in that case, that's who our technicians are, right? Generally male, kids that don't like school, probably come from, maybe a little bit rougher background a lot of the times, right? Not a lot of self-confidence, not a lot of training in life. I have to take that person and make them happy with him. With no training, can he do that? Is that a fair ask on my part? Hey, Mike, 22-year-old guy from other side of the tracks, go deal with my doctor and lawyer $5 million house client. Make it happen. No way. That's not fair to him, right? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start training him in the morning, right? I'm going to get him to understand himself better. A lot of people don't understand themselves. Then I'm going to get him to learn to be able to read Mr. and Mrs. Millionaire so that he can communicate with them in a way that they like to be communicated with. And that equals higher sales, right? On a disc, we'll talk about just briefly. I only have a couple minutes left. I'm a high D. I want the best. I want it now. And just shut up and make it happen, right? That's my mentality, right? Just like, let's go. My wife's going to want to make a relationship with you. She's going to offer you some coffee cake. She's going to want to know about your kids. Are you going to sell me? She and I the same way? No. You start doing that with me, I'm like, all right, we're done. Like, I got to go, right? So we need to teach Mr. Young Man how to deal with each of those clients, right? I'm sorry, guys. Right, yeah, I know. So we use a tool called DISC. I know there's some people in here that use DISC. DISC is a system of assessing people's personalities so that you understand yourself, and then you'll be able to understand and read other people, right? And why DISC? There's others ones. There's Wonderlic, Myers-Briggs, but they're complicated. There's lots of different types. This is 4. Easy for the guys. When we started training this, my guys hated it. They'd sit there like, Eric, why are we talking about our thoughts and feelings all the time? And this is BS, right? And all of a sudden, I'm starting to hear him in the shop. I was at that job, and that guy was a high C, and he asked me every question in the book. Or I was there, and that lady was a high D. If I didn't give her a quote in 2 seconds, I was gonna lose her. All of a sudden, they're going, oh, this stuff works, right? Now they have a tool to deal with that client, and I can customize my sales message to that person, and I'm going to close more deals because I'm talking to that person, and my texts are talking to those people in a language that they understand. I cannot tell you how much money that can put in your pocket, right? And we used to train it just a little bit every day. And the last thing, there's 2 questions with DISC. Are they fast-paced or are they more deliberate, slower? Are they people-oriented or task-oriented? If you can answer those 2 questions by meeting that client, you can probably do it in a couple minutes. You got them. You know who they are. And you start catering your message in that way. And you can train anybody to do this, right? Selling packages. You want to make money? Stop having it yes or no. Start having it which one do you want, right? Give them options, economy, standard, premium, call it whatever you want. I got 5 minutes, so I got to roll quick, right? And lastly, my thing was I used to teach my guys to think like a lawyer. What's a lawyer do? There's 7 steps ahead of you at all times mentally. Right? They're steering you down the river to get you where they want you to go. Now, you obviously could use that for bad, but we teach our team to use it for good. So, everybody says, like, when you get to that point, you've done a great sales presentation, and you're at the point where it's like, they don't talk anymore. And the saying, whoever talks first buys or whatever. Like, yeah, to a degree, but I think it's more like, we can only sit there in silence so long, right? Somebody's gonna have to talk. So I would teach my guys, say, hey, Scott, let me ask you a question. If price was no issue after I've done this whole presentation, do you think we'd do a good job for you? Right? Because I want an affirmative answer. They're going to go, yeah, you would. Okay, mind if I ask a follow-up question to that? Sure. With all the stuff that we've done, do you think a company that did all the same stuff we did and had the same reputation we did would be very much different price than us? And they have to say no. Great, which one do you want? Right? I'm working them because sometimes people just need that little nudge. Thanks, guys. Appreciate it.